Hi there. Based on the recent photo leak of a House of the Dragon Season 3 script cover page, which included the cast listing for this season, we can conclude, not speculate, but conclude, that Alicent's third son, Daeron Targaryen, will be significantly expanded next season. You see, the season cast list on scripts isn't just alphabetic or broad groupings of starring and then recurring by block. No, it is a specific ranking based on actor pay grade. Thus, in turn, it is actually a ranking of the relative prominence of each role within a season. And what really stands out from this leak is two characters, Daeron and also Jane Arryn. But for focus and length, I decided to split these into two videos, one on each. So this is the Daeron one, and I'm starting with him because it's simpler. By comparison to last season's cast listing, we can determine that Daeron in Season 3 will be roughly as prominent as Gwaine Hightower or Alice Rivers were in Season 2. This is surprisingly high, given that at first we feared he'd be cut entirely, and then even after Season 2 established that he, exists, with the reduced episode count and everything, we assumed that at most they'd give a short gloss of his storyline. No, this is surprisingly prominent. They're treating it as a major subplot. On top of that, as I went over in the video before this, they're casting other characters from his storyline that they didn't need to, like Bold John Roxton. So that, combined with his actual ranking, is relatively high. We're getting a lot of Daeron next season. Well, let me go over the specifics. Daeron is ranked at number 23 in Season 3. The top 15 are the core cast, those didn't change since last season, and the upper teens are always small council members. So we're focusing on the 20s here, that rank range. In Season 2, Gwaine Hightower was number 20, Alice Rivers 21. Then Simon Strong is also part of Alice's storyline at Harrenhal, he's 22. After that, the Cargill twins, and then the four Dragon Seeds, Alan, Adam, Hugh, Ulf. And all of them only went up by exactly one. Some stayed the same, others went up by just one, which we can chalk up to Rhaenys died. And then there's the musical chairs game if someone else got bumped up. Not all of them in order, but someone else got bumped up to number 6, and all that worked out. But wait a minute. Why am I saying that Daeron is equal to Gwaine and Alice if he's a little lower at 23? Well, there's a bit more context to understand these rankings. They're largely based on a combination of three factors that are weighted against each other. Raw screen time, relative importance of that screen time in these scenes, and actor experience. The first two are the biggest and in direct tension. It's the old story of quantity versus quality. A guard character in the background of many scenes as a spear carrier is still roughly equal to a character who pops up for like one really prominent scene at a battle and then gets killed. A direct example, look at the ranks in the 30s, a little below this. Kingsguard characters tend to rank disproportionately higher than you think they would. Because if you actually go back and check, they are in the background of most scenes with the core cast who are monarch characters, because it is their job to shadow them. So by raw screen time, minute by minute, the Kingsguard are actually pretty high, even if they don't have as many storylines focusing on them. So Rhaenyra's Queensguard, Steffan Darklyn, and Laurent Marbrand rank at numbers 29 and 30. I'm not saying they're nothing characters. They do get dialogue, sometimes they do get the focus of things. They're not as much as like a major small council member like Orweiler or Larry Clubfoot or something, but they're physically in a lot of scenes for a lot of minutes, and that adds up. That's quantity over quality. The opposite end of the spectrum of that is quality over quantity, one big scene. For example, Lord Gunthor Darklin, who was only in exactly one scene of Season 2, which he's the main focus of, cursing out Criston Cole before Criston executes him. He is the focus of that scene. And he ranks pretty high. He was ranked number 36 for Season 2, only 6 places apart from his son who is on Rhaenyra's Queensguard and Laurent. So in broad strokes, it's 6 out of a cast of 150 people. That's pretty close. The scripts usually go up to a list of about 140, 150 roles, but you understand after 100, it's spear carriers who have a line of dialogue or two, if even that, just the camera focuses on them, they perform an action. So 100 to 150 is just spear carriers, but difference of only 6 there, that's roughly in the same range. You have a Kingsguard who's in the background of a lot of scenes versus a one-scene wonder who is the main focus of it. So notice that I am not using the words prominence and importance as synonyms. The formula is that relative prominence is a combination of raw screen time and importance within that. And then the third factor, which I mentioned. On top of all this, the third factor that they weigh into this is actor experience. For out-of-universe reasons, I mean, logically, a veteran actor can negotiate for higher pay than a newcomer. So let's compare Gunthor Darklin, who is this older man, relatively veteran actor, to a newcomer who is similarly a quality versus quantity thing, someone who is quality scenes, only a few of them, but younger. Oscar Tully. Oscar Tully is in only 3 scenes across 2 episodes, and by raw screen time, he's only in 8 minutes. But he's the focus point of each of those scenes. He's actually a very important character, and I think ranked relatively high, because each of his scenes was directly with Daemon. There isn't a wasted line in them. Quality over quantity. So he's roughly in that same style or type of role as Gunthor Darklin. Oscar Tully actually ranks below Gunthor Darklin. He ranks at number 40, because actor Archie Barnes is young and a relative newcomer. He's great. He's had 1 or 2 roles in other things before, but compared to a 60-year-old actor who's been in more things, it's weighted towards an inexperienced actor with the unions and the pay negotiations, all that. You see this as a general trend throughout the industry. An older actor will tend to be ranked higher with higher pay. This is normal. I mean, there's rarely exceptions, like if someone was a really famous child actor who then became an adult actor, they already got a lot of stuff under their belt, but that's rarer. Or if you're supposed to be like an open call for the grandfather of a minor character who has like 1 line of dialogue, you could be a 70-year-old who's a newcomer actor if it's a really tiny role, but for equivalent roles, all else being equal, older actor tends to be the more experienced one, and on the pay grade, they can negotiate for more money. So, just as Oscar Tully is a few, not many, just a few points lower than Gunthor Darklin, like 4 places lower, the exact same thing happened with Daeron. That as he's the youngest son of Alicent, presumably he's being played by a young, relative newcomer actor. Probably in the same age range, more or less, as Oscar Tully, depending on how they're playing this. So yeah, it's no surprise that Daeron is ranked a little lower. And in case you think this is just my speculation, we have other evidence to back that up. Because the real key is to look at the entire Daeron in the Reach subplot as a linked whole. That this leaked list also includes Daeron's cousin, Lord Ormond Hightower, who is ranked higher at number 20. And remember, Gwaine Hightower was ranked 20 in Season 2, Alice Rivers was 21. So we can say, it looks like Ormond is ranked relatively as prominent as them. And they also cast a relatively experienced actor who wouldn't be weighted down like that, James Norton. That's like the one casting announcement we do have for next season, James Norton. Loosely comparable to as prominent as Freddie Fox was, who was cast as Gwaine. so you see they are directly comparable. But Ormond is the Lord of Old Town and commander of the main Hightower army, the largest land army in the war, which is fighting its way north through the Reach. You even see a brief cameo of this army in the montage at the end of Season 2. And in that montage, you see Ormond's army being shadowed by Daeron flying on his blue dragon, Targaryen. Daeron and Ormond are in the same storyline. It's Daeron's storyline. He is the main character. Ormond is a supporting character in Daeron's story. Presumably, Ormond is in every scene that Daeron is in. Let that sink in. That we can reasonably assume that Ormond would be in every scene that Daeron is in. Daeron might even have scenes separate from Ormond. So because these two characters are linked, we can conclude that the combined Daeron and Ormond's army in the Reach storyline is ranked around number 20-ish. Loosely equal to how prominent Gwaine and Alice Rivers were in Season 2. It's just a quirk of the pay grade system that Daeron would be played by a relative newcomer young actor and therefore be a few points lower. Heck, on Game of Thrones itself, the Arya and Sansa actors actually weren't considered part of the top tier due to their youth. That they instituted this official tier system starting in Season 5, and Tier A had only 5 people in it. Jon, Daenerys, and the 3 Lannister siblings. I often refer to all of them collectively as the Core 7 because they did treat them as part of the top 7, Arya and Sansa, but technically they were not part of the same pay grade due to their youth. At the end of the day, it all comes down to that stupid question, do you have any prior experience? We'll pay you more if you have more experience. Well, how does one get experience if you won't give me the job? This is a vicious cycle. And even then I wouldn't get too hung up on, well, this is 3 points different. This comes to my mind in blocks of 10. That anything going up 5 or 10 is noticeable. Difference of 2 or 3 isn't that huge. So, yeah, this is in the broad region of how prominent Gwaine and Alice were. The point is, Daeron is going to be a lot more prominent than we thought in Season 2. It is here in black and white in the objective cast ranking that they attach to scripts. Loosely, I would say roughly twice as prominent as Oscar Tully was. Looking at Gwaine Hightower in Season 2, you'd say, yeah, he's roughly twice as prominent as Oscar Tully is, more or less. But in the region of Gwaine Hightower or Alice Rivers, this is really good news. This is relatively easy to explain and focused, so I started with this one. Please follow me after the jump, where I go over the slightly more detailed Jane Arryn ranking, and why that's also really good news that she will be drastically expanded on in Season 3.